A few years ago, I had a tradition of going on YouTube and live streaming Rocket League every Christmas and New Year's Eve. It has now been about 2 years since I abandoned that channel so that I could have a fresh start in this one, and while I no longer live stream the game, my tradition of playing it has remained the same. Seeing as it's Christmas, I think now is as good of a time as ever to finally talk about this game. Merry Christmas, everyone. It's your buddy Novastitous, and welcome back to another yearly upload. It's that time of year I love, so what better way to spend it than with a game I love? It's true. Rocket League is a game I've held near and dear to my heart for a good part of my life. Every summer, I loved waking up early in the morning and hopping on good old car soccer. It's genuinely some of the most fun I've had with any game. I was never good at it whatsoever, and I still suck. But the time I spent with my friends in the game are moments I'll forever cherish. I mean, can you blame me? The game had so much care put into it. It was hard not to love. I mean, picture this. It's an early Saturday morning, you just had some breakfast, and you get on Rocket League. You're immediately greeted by a song that hypes you up for the morning. You get invited by a friend, so you join them. They show you the new car customization that they came up with, and you hop into some matches and just have a blast for a few hours. No skill, just pure, unadulterated fun. That was the essence of Rocket League. The customization was always so good. Nothing stood out too much, so style light and combinations rather than the items themselves. This helped everyone look unique without grabbing too much attention. I spent so much time messing with the things I owned to see what was the best combination I could make. Showing it to my friends the next day always made me so giddy. And to complement the experience, the soundtrack was always so mesmerizing.
Common man, and I turned my worst critics to my staunchest fans and worked at it until the world was believing. They gave them no choice but to see it.
That's just scratching the surface. Truth be told, it really felt like every song was carefully handpicked to make you feel at home. And it worked. It never felt like a successful day of gaming without some Rocket League in the mix. The game's atmosphere always just kept bringing me back. But realistically, that's not enough to keep a game alive. So what do you do to prevent a decrease in players? You add extra modes, and boy, were they amazing. The original mode in Rocket League is Soccer. That's not just me making a pun, that's literally what it's called. Now, it's pretty straightforward. You just hit the ball into the goal using regular jumps and boost. It makes for great fun, yet it's easily accessible for casual players. But the second mode Psyonix added to the game was Snow Day, back in February 10th of 2016. Fundamentally, it's really just soccer with a puck, but as far as strategy goes, it's completely different. The puck usually hugs walls or slides across the ground rather than bounce through the air. So in this mode, you want to jump as little as possible, or else you'll just miss the puck altogether. I never played this mode much, since it was never really my style. Fortunately, in the same day, Psyonix added the Rocket Labs. This is probably the mode I've spent the most time on by far. It was always such a treat to play in. Despite the gameplay staying the same, there were all these cool and unique layouts for the maps that just helped keep the experience super fresh. And for that very reason, there were usually just casuals in the sessions. There were simply very few competitive players that were willing to put up with these kind of maps. I mean, is that a freaking hexagon? I can't do this, man! That, along with the fact that they added new style maps every once in a while, really solidified Rocket Labs as a definitive casual experience. On April 25th of 2016, Psyonix added the Hoops game mode, which is literally just basketball. The mode is made for the better players since it requires you to have pretty good control of your car in midair. I would know, every time I play hoops it leads to soul-crushing defeat. That didn't stop me from enjoying it though. At the time, this was the only mode that completely changed the gameplay rather than just bits and pieces. In retrospect though, they definitely could have done more with it. For example, there's only ever been one map for this mode. That's just ridiculous. Even Snow Day has 3. And you know what? Nobody f***ing plays Snow Day. This lack of content pretty much doomed the mode to being the least played. Well, except Snow Day. And on September 8th of 2016, Psyonix released what is probably the biggest game mode, that being Rumble. People were seriously hyped for this, and I was too. Its trailer performed extremely well, and why wouldn't it be a hit? A game mode with power-ups was unfathomable, and to top it off, Rumble had the largest map rotation of all. The mode was basically built to last. I could still remember my anticipation as the update downloaded, and the way I felt on that first match was an experience I can only describe as ascension. It was genuinely some of the most fun I've had with any video game. It was pure chaos, and I loved it for that. The possibilities seemed endless. And finally, on March 22nd of 2017, Psyonix released Dropshot. I've probably spent the least amount of time in this mode. Even Snow Day is at least a pretty good pick for the holiday season. Don't get me wrong, Dropshot isn't a bad mode, but what keeps me away is mostly just the skill gap. The floor is split into 2 sides, and the floor is made up of breakable tiles. The aim of the game is to break the tiles on the opposing team's side and hit the ball right through the gap. Sure, it sounds easy in theory, but boy does it get frustrating quick. There's so many near misses, and it doesn't help that anyone who plays this mode has seemingly been playing the game since the beginning of time. All in all, not my cup of tea, but the mode was definitely the most unique and served as a great opportunity to pave the way for future modes. And how did that turn out? Well, 4 years later, and there's modes like Heat Seeker, which is aimbot, Gridiron, which is football, Beach Ball, where the ball is just lighter with curved trajectories, and Spike Rush, where the ball sticks to you and you can toss it. Of course, there's a few more forgettable ones, but these sound fine enough, right? You want to know what's the real kicker? They're all just limited time modes now that come and go as they please. Did you really like one of them? Come back in 6 months or even more. Did you like Rocket Labs? Now that's a limited time mode too. Oh, better yet, now you only have one map in Rocket Labs rotation at a time. It just keeps getting better. But that begs the question, what happened to the other game modes? Well, great news! Everything except original Soccer has been moved to ranked only. Isn't that great? Now instead of having fun, you get to rip your hair out as your opponent does a pinch to a flip reset where they proceed to hit the ball off the backboard into the goal. Does that sound entertaining to you? 'Cause it isn't. Nowadays, even the casual modes are riddled with tryhards whose mission it is to make sure you leave the match with depression. Psyonix has seemingly made every decision possible to ensure that casual players have no safe space within the game. I'm no longer thinking, I want to improve. I'm just thinking, I want to play a different game. Well, what about other aspects of the game? Well, Psyonix made a music deal with Monster Cat, so now all the wonderfully crafted songs in the original soundtrack have been buried under hundreds of generic EDM tracks, such as... And what about the customization? Well, gone are the days of making cool combinations with what you had. Now all the cool looking stuff is locked behind paywalls of sorts. Matches are now riddled with people spamming in chat, begging to trade. Basically, it feels like Psyonix has done everything in their power to butcher the experience I once held so dear to me. And it truly sucks. For almost 5 years now, this game was one of my favorites. But now whenever my friends invite me to play Rocket League, I find myself loathing at the thought. The game I used to praise so highly is a mere shell of its former self, and it sucks, man. But the worst part is, could have been avoided entirely, and fairly easily too. If they simply kept Rocket Labs as a permanent mode, and left all the extra modes in the casual playlist, the game would still be fun. Sure, the atmosphere is gone, but the gameplay would remain intact. But alas, this is the reality I'm stuck with, although not all hope is lost. You see, Psyonix recently dropped a game called Rocket League Sideswipe, which finally brought the franchise over to mobile devices. I've played plenty of it, and it's honestly been a blast. It controls really well, and it's perfectly optimized. At least, I haven't run into any issues yet. And to top it all off, the game has a fully free Rocket Pass. Sure, the main game may never be the same, but for the first time in a while, there seems to be hope for Rocket League as a franchise. I'm still gonna keep playing the game though. I mean, what else am I gonna play for Christmas and New Year's? Friggin' Overwatch? Ew.